It's a real blessing to be with you here today on this Wednesday of the Word of Encouragement. And today we're looking at Joshua chapter 10. Oh, I love to go through the book of Joshua as you see God's hand of blessing this new generation coming up, learn from the unbelief and the disobedience of their parents, and determined to believe God, to follow the leadership of Joshua, which was following the leadership of the Lord. And they began to see God work over and over on their behalf. In fact, what Hebrews 4 talks about rest, using them as an example, that's what they had. They had a rest in God and a rest in their soul as they were facing one enemy after another that would have been normally, humanly, too strong for them to overcome. And yet, one after the other, God intervened and not one of them was lost. The only reason they had anyone lost was because they disobeyed the Lord back at Ai. But after that, God protected them. I mean, they were waiting to see what God would do next. And in chapter 10, you have the great battle that came because of Gibeon, and the kings of the south came, and you have God stopping the sun and the moon. Amazing miracle. We know about that when we know the laws of the universe, that God, that shows you how powerful he is. And all of those different peoples and mighty cities were overcome. And the kings of all of them were brought together. 5 of them fled, and they caught them and put them into a cave. And then a little bit later, all of them were killed. And when they came to put their feet on the necks of these kings, Joshua said in verse 25 of chapter 10, "Fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of a good courage, for thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom ye fight." All your enemies. Now think, my friend, I've read a bit of a passage here and talked about it, but think about all that God's done for you. Just salvation alone ought to give us great courage for anything else, the greatest of all miracles. But think of how he's touched your life and led you and protected you and guided you and comforted you and answered prayer. You say, well, there are times I've just seemed far away, or he seemed far away from me, but think back about the battles that he has won, the times that you turn to the Lord. You wouldn't be tuning into a few minutes of a program like this if you didn't have a heart for God. That's a miracle. God has done some great things. And so remember that what God has done for you in the past, he is ready to do for you in the future. And that's exactly what he says here. He made a very clear teaching moment as all the army was around, especially the leadership. He said, I want you to see this. Here are 5 powerful kings that led armies that we could not defeat, but God defeated them on our behalf. Put your feet on their necks, because I want you to realize that when God is working, the victory is assured. And just like he did it miraculously for these armies, he's going to do it in the future, and you can count on it. And that can be applied to us in our personal lives. You take what God did with Israel and you can apply it to us personally in the New Testament age. So remember the great things that God has done. In the same way he gave you victory in the past, if you will trust him, he will do it today, and he'll do it tomorrow, and he'll do it in the days ahead. Let's not allow Satan to deceive us. We serve a God who's on the march, and we can stay encouraged as we follow him and serve him with all of our heart.